Welcome back to Copper Star Precision, the channel dedicated to getting you more points at your competitive shooting matches. Now, when it comes to precision rimfire matches, obviously ammunition is a key component. You want to find a lot that works in your rifle to give you the best accuracy, but the rest is down to you, the shooter, making good wind calls and getting stable on props. Getting stable on props is much easier if you have a balanced rifle. Now, a lot of these rimfire rifles, they are light. They have light barrels, especially in their factory configurations, which is why you see some of the custom builds going with large, thick, heavy barrels to get that balance point way out front so that your balance point of the rifle is just ahead of the mag well, which is where you set the rifle on top of a bag, and then you don't have to actually manipulate the rifle as much to get it settled, on target, and stable before you break the shot. In base class, we can't add weights to the rifle unless they're in factory locations. So if I had my Ruger, which has the M-LOK handguard, I could add weights, all the different weights. All the different companies make M-LOK weights that you can attach. But we have to get a little bit more creative with the CZ457 MTR, or if you have a similar rifle that has either a wood stock or maybe even a synthetic stock, there's a solution that I found to get that balance point way forward of the mag well so I can be more stable on barricades with bags. And that solution is the Rail by DST Precision. So I'll just introduce some benchtop video here of me going over how I mounted mine and kind of the thought process behind it. So here we go. One key aspect of this sport is rifle balance, and in order to balance my MTR, I decided to go with the Rail from DST Precision. This is basically a nearly 5-pound Arca rail, and you can see it attached here. I actually have added another over 2 pounds of weight on the front end of the rifle, and you shouldn't need to do this if you're using this rifle with a moderately weight scope. The reason I do this is because on my scope I have the trigger cam, which adds a pound to the back of the rifle scope. So in order to offset that pound, I actually had to put nearly 2 pounds in the front of the rifle so that I could get the rifle to balance well ahead of the mag well for when I put it on a bag. Now, the way that you attach this depends on your rifle. For this wooden CZ MTR stock, essentially it's simply screwed into the wood here. So this screw here, I picked up the swing swivel stud location and then added 2 more, drilling through the stock. This would be best done in a drill press, and the idea is that you simply draw a center line from your action screws all the way through to that swing swivel stud, and then position your rail where you want it. And really, you want to pick up one of these holes as your starting point, and you notice that these 2 positions kind of have slots. So make sure you get the rail where you want it and start with this hole. Once you get this hole, you can add these 2 holes and make sure you always attach this one first, and then these you have some wiggle room forward and back when it comes to where you can put your screw. On the other side, what you'll want to do is actually sort of counter drill. Once you drill the holes through the screws from the bottom, you want to counter drill these with essentially a Forstner bit. Now, a Forstner bit makes this nice clean hole, and for this one I was using the 3/4 inch Forstner bit, again in a drill press. You can see just fits nicely in there, makes a nice hole, doesn't hog out too much material. And then there are T-nuts in here, and what those are going to do is they're going to grip into the wood, creating a very, very secure connection. Now, as for the copper bars, I simply drilled and tapped these for screws, and the reason is I didn't want these screws to protrude too much. I had to add a bunch of weight, which was very thick, and I wanted to put a nut on top of here, but I was afraid I was going to interfere with the barrel of the rifle. So these are just drilled and tapped, and 2 more additional screws put on this end. Also, I think there's an option on the website with the rail to add some foam strips. I didn't do that when I first purchased it, but given that this stock has a little bit of a rounded bottom and a contour, I think adding some foam in here is actually a great idea. So if I were to order this again, I would have ordered it with the foam inserts. I didn't the first time, so what I did is I went out to the hardware store and I got this window seal kit. So this is size small. It says it fits grooves or gaps 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch. Comes in a roll like this.
It's just foam, and what I did is I simply cut this down the middle to make 2 strips. I added 1 strip to either side in here, and when I clamped everything in, it just provided a little bit more secure. I mean, it's going to be plenty secure with the screws the way they are, but this just prevents any like rocking side to side motion as you're tightening things down. It makes a more secure hold. So if you're looking for something to balance your rifle, you know, and you need all that extra weight, and unfortunately in this sport, you know, balance of rifle is super important. And with the MTR having only a 20-inch barrel, although it is a thicker profile barrel than like the CZ American, that little pencil thin barrel, it's still not enough to balance the rifle. Now on custom rifles, you see people going for much thicker and much longer barrels, you know, 24, even 26 inches, and they're, you know, an inch, inch and a quarter even thick on some models. But if we're working with the factory specifications and in base class we can't change the barrel out, this is a good option for someone looking to get balance on the rifle. I've been very happy with mine. Again, not crazy difficult to install as long as you measure 1,000 times before you start drilling holes into your stock. And a drill press is definitely something that you want to consider. And then again, some window seal tape, sort of foam to kind of put on the sides, makes a very secure connection. And yeah, that's how I get my rifle balanced.